guys, how's it going? It's That Nerd Ryan here, and today we're going to be reviewing Loki. So I do want to say I'm sorry that basically half this month is reviewing Marvel properties, but I mean, 2 weeks and we have two different Marvel properties finishing or releasing or whatever you want to say it, which is finally a great turn of events considering last year. So let's talk about Loki. I'm going to be basically talking about this as a collective. I'm not going to go episode by episode. However, I will rank the episodes out of 6, and then we'll rank the series out of 20. There's a reason why we're doing that. It's just because series, they deserve a little bit more of a ranking than they do movies, because there's a lot more content. There's a lot more content in it. So, let's talk about the plot. First thing first. The plot's really, really good. It reminds me a lot of Rick and Morty, which I know one of the writers for Rick and Morty, or directors or something, directed at least one episode. But it does get that feel of that in like Doctor Who sort of thing, with time travel and just all these crazy inventions and everything like that. And basically it's a great feeling. So we are going into a spoiler warning. I did forget to say that for Black Widow, so I do want to say that now. So basically the whole story is Loki gets pulled from 2012, where he is basically, it's the Endgame / Avengers Loki, where he stole the Tesseract and got out of being arrested and stuff like that, and the TVA arrests Loki. He goes through processing and everything, and he's about to get pruned, which means basically thrown into the void, or they might brainwash him and make him a TVA agent. And he gets pulled by Owen Wilson's character, aka Mobius, and basically they find out that they're chasing after another Loki variant that's causing a lot of mayhem, and they have Loki help try to find this variant, which ends up being a female Loki, Sylvia, and they have to figure out where she's hiding, which they find out is in apocalypses, and they go to a certain apocalypse in the near future, find her, then Loki chases after her. They end up in basically a no way out situation, that the only way that they kind of get out of this is going to sound cheesy, but the only way that they find a way to get out of this apocalypse is love. And somehow that sparks a branch on the timeline and lets them get out of the situation. Then basically there's a whole trial situation where they're trying to figure out, like, Sylvie says that every TVA agent's a variant. Loki's trying to convince Mobius about that, while Sylvie is in custody. They're both in custody, but Sylvie doesn't really focus on, except for her turning one of the TVA agents to the good-ish side. And then it ends with them meeting the Timekeepers, which ended up being like a Wizard of Oz thing, and Loki gets pruned and gets thrown into the void, where he meets a million tons of variants of himself. Sylvie gets in there, and then they decide that they're going to take over, or defeat the creature that runs the void, and then meet the true person behind all of this, which ends up being, again, spoiler warning, Kang. Not the Kang that we'll see in Quantumania or anything like that, but a version of Kang. Ends with Sylvie killing him, and Loki going back to a different version of the TVA where nobody knows who he is, and it's taken over by the actual Kang. Time out. Time in. So that's a full synopsis of the plot. It's 6 episodes. A lot happens, but still it's easy to explain like that. Let's talk about characters. We're only going to really focus on 4 characters. So the first one being Loki himself. We get a lot more character development with Loki in the show than we did in the entire MCU. Even though they both have great character development, this variant does change for the better. And basically, you could say that Loki's a hero by now in this, when at the end of Ragnarok, yes, at Infinity War, he does sacrifice himself to try to save Thor. However, I do feel that if he were to survive Infinity War, he would go back to kind of trying to rule and stuff like that and just being mischievous. This Loki, at the end of it, there's even a part where Kang, or the one above all, or whatever you want to call him, offers him and Sylvie the throne. And he does not take it. He does say that they shouldn't kill this version of Kang, and that maybe they should take over, but he's not doing it out of, I want to rule the TVA. He's doing it out of what happens when you take away a lesser evil, a bigger evil will take its place. We need to make sure that that doesn't happen, sort of thing. Or he just wants to make sure that Sylvie's okay. Which I feel that the original Loki would have taken over for the one above all, or whatever you want to call him, or the last remaining, I can't think of the name, but Kang. He would have done it just out of, I get to rule something finally. With that, I want to move on to the second lead in this, Sylvie. Sylvie is a variant of Loki. She does get character development too, of being able to trust no one, to at least sort of trusting Loki and trusting Mobius, and just becoming... She had a hateful relationship with the TVA, and she goes from that to still having that hateful relationship, which shows like how a Loki works, kind of, that they do get stuck in that circle. However, she does change from it to being able to trust people and being able to have like relationships, I guess is the best way to say it, because she was on her own her entire life. And can't wait to see more of her in season 2, and hopefully other movies, just hopefully as a hero and not a villain, or at least an anti-hero. Next we'll talk about Mobius. Mobius honestly was my favorite character, just for the fact, like, he's kind of a goofy character in a sense, but he's also a very endearing character, because he originally is diehard for the TVA, will do anything, even if it's destroying a whole timeline or killing or pruning somebody that really shouldn't have to be, and stuff like that. But it ends up, once he befriends Loki and starts seeing through all the issues in the TVA, he becomes a hero. And it's a shame that we're not going to see that develop anymore, possibly, with how the season ends. Lastly, we're going to talk about Kang. And I know that, like, 1, it's not Kang. 2, there's going to be multiple versions of him. And 3, that he wasn't technically a main character. However, being the main villain behind the curtain the whole time, you gotta kind of talk about him. So, I will say that I don't like this version. I feel he's a little too goofy. And if they're trying to introduce Kang as a threatening presence, they kind of needed to play him more threatening. He kind of felt like somebody trying to be the Joker, at least in this version. Where we had Lex Luthor in Batman v Superman, that's what it felt like with this version of Kang. Where it was like, oh yeah, I'm King by name, but technically I'm the Joker, sort of thing. And it's like, I get it, there's different versions, this one's probably the most benevolent version, and Loki and Sylvie talking about how threatening he is doesn't really justify it for me. I'm happy that there's going to be different versions, and this actor is very, very amazing. Jonathan Majors, great actor, but with this, it felt not as threatening as it should. So we're gonna just list 5 minor characters that I really enjoyed. Was Hunter B-15, I think it was, or B-20 or whatever, the one of the main hunters that Sylvie turns. The Kid Loki, Classic Loki, President Loki, and then I also, even though she's technically more of a major character, but Ramona Renslayer is another great character in the show. I'll talk about my favorite part, and we already kind of talked about my least favorite part with Kang, so let's talk about my favorite part. So, my favorite part has to be the whole episode with the Loki variants, especially the whole President Loki scene. President Loki, I just love it because that was like the first comic series that I ever bought when I started collecting comics, was Vote Loki, which it was great to see him in live action and just his smug, snarky attitude, and then getting his hand bit off by a gator Loki. That was phenomenal and everything. So, now let's start ranking the episodes. I do want to say there is technically no post-credit scene. The only thing that we see is Loki will return in Season 2, and there's no post-credit scene after that. So, let's rank the episodes. The first episode, I do give a 3 out of 6. It's setting up a lot of stuff. It's mostly just kind of set up and everything like that, so it's not really as important. The second episode I do give a 1 out of 6. It just kind of felt a little kind of like filler, not really, but like the fact that kind of playing off, okay, who is this Loki, what's going on, and it's kind of just takes forever, so I give it a 1 out of 6. The third episode, which is them figuring out the apocalypses and stuff like that, I do give a 4 out of 6. The next episode, which is them trying to hunt down, or going through the apocalypse world and everything, I do give a 2 out of 6. It was, when you know that there's 2 episodes left, you know that these characters aren't going to get killed or anything really big. Then we have the Loki episode after that, which, again, 6 out of 6. And then the finale is 5 out of 6. So out of 20 total, I'm giving the show 17 out of 20. I loved it. I can't wait for more of it. Again, the whole thing with Kang kind of felt disappointing. And then episode 2 was a little bit disappointing, but there's just great characters, great everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on all my social media down below. And have a great day. It's that Nerd Ryan telling you, we're all superheroes on the outside. It's that Nerd Ryan telling you, we're all superheroes on the inside.